There goes that man's jockstrap.
Oh my God, did you see that? America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports. There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship. Green Bay's got it this year. Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by Anchor. Want to make a podcast like ours? Want to share your interesting thoughts and share them with the podcast world? Use Anchor. Upload your podcast to all podcasting networks. It's super easy, super simple, and it's the easiest way to make a podcast.
Yo, how is it going, my dude?
Oh, it's always great on a Monday after a Packer victory. How's it going for yourself?
Just great. Like you said, victory Monday. Kind of a shaky game last night up until the end. I shouldn't even say up until the end. Even the end was a little bit shaky, but nonetheless, yeah, Packers victory. Top of the NFC North, top of the NFC. Well, pending the game's night, but yeah, it's a good day to be a Packers fan. Before we get into our NFL content for today, feel free to check out all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You can find those down in the description link below. It's also on the ticker below us here. Any breaking news outside of our 3 podcast windows every week, you can find them on their socials. For our audio episodes, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere associated with Anchor. They distribute our podcast to those destinations. A 5-star rating over there helps us move up the charts as always. And for our merch, you can find that also in the link below, streamerloot.co. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, all that good stuff. You can find that there. And from last episode, I talked about it. I'll just go into it briefly again. We do have our sports raffle for a sports mystery box of your choice between the NFL, NHL, and MLB. DM us on any of our socials or email us at inaleagueoftheirownpodcast@gmail.com. Entry fee is $10 for your first entry, up to 3 entries for $20. If you're interested, make sure you hit us up so we can take care of that. Diving into our NFL content for today, what do you got?
First question for you here. With the Browns' huge win yesterday over the top-seeded Ravens in their division, do you think that they surge and become a playoff team since they currently sit in the 8th spot?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy coming on the stretch where the AFC's always been close and the NFC's starting to get closer as well, where there's 6 teams out right now that are within a game of the 7 and 6 seed in the playoffs right now. So a win gets you in, a lose drops you out. It's going to be crazy coming down the stretch here. As for the Browns, yeah, a huge win for them yesterday to get back above 500 over the Ravens. Again, pending how that game would have turned out if Lamar Jackson didn't go down early in that game. But I mean, really impressed more with the Browns defense. Again, Baker Mayfield did enough to get the win. Had 1 pick on the day where, again, if he can avoid those unnecessary turnovers and keep the offense the ball in his offense's hands, they maybe put that game away even more because they didn't score at all in the second half, right?
Correct. I don't believe so.
Yeah, they're outscored 16-0 in the second half. So I mean, good to hang on, but at the same time, a lot of times when you put up 0 points in a half, and then in the NFL, you're not going to win football games. So again, take it with a grain of salt. If you're a Baltimore fan, if you have Lamar Jackson, maybe this game ends differently. But yeah, it did come right down to the end. Came down to a 4th and 6, less than a minute to go, or right at a minute to go, and Baltimore couldn't convert. Baltimore wins. But I guess that for the long haul, kind of looking at Cleveland, again, very much in control of their own destiny, again, with a lot of division games.
And they're ahead of the Bengals.
Yep, and being ahead of the Bengals and the Steelers. Steelers are in last in the North right now, right?
Yep.
But yeah, they host Vegas next week, head to Green Bay, head to Pittsburgh, and then come home for the Bengals. So they end the year on 2 divisional games, which are going to have a lot weighing on them. Um, Again, they're ahead of the Bengals and the Steelers, so more or less they got to win those games just to stay ahead. Because a couple losses, they go from second in the North to last in the North with no chance of making the playoffs. Um, I mean, I see the Browns potentially going 3-1 to finish the year here with their only loss in Green Bay, which would put them at, what would that be, 10 and
10-7.
10-7 to finish the season. At 10-7, with how close the AFC is right now, if you win 3 of your last 4 games, I think you set yourself up good to be in the playoffs. So yeah, I could definitely see the Browns sneaking in at the 7 or even the 6, the 5 seed, because again, it's all very close. How this is going to shake out, but I think that the Browns have one of the easier, like, again, it's NFL any given Sunday, but on paper it looks like they have one of the easier stretches to finish the season.
And look at Baltimore, depending on how banged up Lamar Jackson is. They play the Packers, Bengals, Rams, and end with the Steelers. So they could have a tough little stretch here. Like, it's crazy to think that 13 teams on both sides are still relevant to make the playoffs at this point in the season. It's incredible. Nobody would have expected this season. A lot of the results that we've seen, some of the wins that we've seen, nobody expected any of it this year, and that's what makes it awesome. And what's even cooler is I feel like there's going to be a handful of teams on both sides the last week of the season waiting to see playing for your playoff spot or not. Like, it's going to come down to the very end of the year with how many teams are still alive. That
Not only that,
it's the playoffs basically from here to the rest of the year.
Yeah.
With how important these games are for every single team outside basically the Pats, Chiefs, and the top 3. Well, yeah, top 3 in the NFC, which is Cardinals, Packers, and Bucks. Outside of those 5 teams, really it's a playoff game every single game for you down the stretch here.
Yeah. And not only that, come week 18, I feel like there's going to be a lot of games where we got the dub. All right, let's go to the locker room. Did this team beat this team? Did this team beat that team? Are we in? Like, it's going to be one of those scenarios, or like, hurry up, let's get home. This game's, because usually they have all noon games and they have like, what, 2 afternoon games? I'm going to take a look.
The last week, there's 4 afternoon games at the end of the year. It's the Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, Seahawks, Cardinals, and 49ers, Rams are all the 3:30 slate the last week.
Okay. Which are all, aside from maybe the Chiefs, Broncos, all of them are going to have playoff implications. Chargers, Raiders fighting for a spot.
Patriots,
Niners,
Dolphins also play that weekend. The Bears and the Vikings, that game could have it. Cowboys, Eagles, Bengals and the Browns is going to come to Saints and the Falcons could be coming down to Panthers and the Bucks, depending what happens there. Like, we got a great ride the rest of the year.
Yeah. And I like how they started that, I don't know, what, 8 to 10 years ago, maybe not even that long, with how they make it so that you play a division rival to finish the season.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, yeah.
Well, it's just the last week.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it makes for, I mean, making it interesting down the stretch of, well, we got to win one more game to get in, or this team has to, again, there's 10 plus teams on both sides still with a chance to get in, which really isn't that well known. Usually in the hunt is like 3 teams at this point of the year. In the hunt is like 8 teams on both sides. So, but yeah, switching over then, my first question for you here. Which franchise has had a worse fare of quarterbacks over the past decade? The Chicago Bears or the Washington football team?
Definitely the Chicago Bears. The Bears only have 1 victory over the Washington football team going all the way back to 2004. Bears just have had bad luck. Justin Fields, like I said, I think once he grows, gains his experience and stuff in the league, I feel like he could potentially be the best one out of that draft class. But as it stands right now, this season, I would say Taylor Heineke is probably just based on the records. But also at the same time, Jay Cutler really killed that team. Like, he threw so many picks for those guys.
Yeah. Grossman was really the last, like, all right, this guy's okay. Trubisky, even, he kind of kept the ship somewhat afloat.
But yeah, I'd say the Bears definitely had a worse group of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, looking at Washington again, forgetting that they had RG3, and while he was healthy, he was very dynamic. And then trying to think after that, they've had a lot. I mean, just like the Bears, they've had probably 10, 15 quarterbacks in the past decade start a football game for them. But yeah, I mean, just as a Packers fan, seeing firsthand that Bears franchise and kind of what it's gone through over the past 10 years. Yeah, I mean, both teams have had a rough go at quarterbacks, but I'd agree with you that the Bears have kind of had the lower hand at that position.
Yeah. And just going from 2002 or to the year 2000s, this is how many quarterbacks have been on the Bears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And these are all starting 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38 different quarterbacks since the year 2000.
Jeez. That's like the Browns too. I guess it's another team to kind of throw into the hat with these two. I've ever seen that, like, I think it's like some custom made.
Washington's had 23 since the year 2000.
So statistically, they're a little bit better as far as keeping a quarterback without having to rotate them out.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Browns honestly might be right in between that 23 and 38 mark, somewhere in there too. So I remember seeing like a customized jersey of a Bears fan or a Browns fan, to where they had like McCown, and then it's like scratched out, Manziel scratched out, and it just like goes down the list where over the last 10 years they have like down the whole back of their jersey the list of quarterbacks that have started for them.
Yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, Cleveland has had 39 quarterbacks.
Oh, so they're
7 worse than the Bears.
You said Bears are 38.
Oh shit. Yeah. Then yeah, 1 worse. That's wild. Well, on to my second question here then. Tom Brady currently being the favorite to win MVP this season. He leads in yards, touchdowns, basically almost every single offensive category that there is. Do you think he wins the MVP?
It's looking to be that way. I mean, yesterday's late surge by Buffalo was fun to watch as a fan, but ultimately came down to, all right, Tom Brady, it was, what would they say, 106-1 in his career when leading by 21 points.
And the
His only
last team he
loss to
lost to was
Buffalo
the
was,
Bills
yeah,
in 2001.
2010
Oh yeah, or 11 because it
or
was 10
11. Yeah,
years.
yeah, that's right. But yeah, I mean, it came down to overtime. I mean, the Buffalo had a chance. I mean, but again, it's moments like that to where keep you at the top of the pedestal for MVP if you're able to get those type of wins. And again, another vintage day for Brady. 31 for 46, 363, and 2 tutties. No interceptions. The old man even had some wheels at a couple points during the game. He ended with, we had 7 for 16 in like the first quarter, where he just was like tucking it and running, tucking it and running, tucking it and running. And with his longest of the day, 12 yards. So he got 16 of his 12 yards, or 12 of his 16 yards on one go. I mean, like you said, he's leading the NFL in so many categories right now. It's really his to lose. And going down the stretch here, I mean, they have a fun game tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Thursday, or it's not Thursday night, it's Sunday night against the Saints.
They
Panthers,
play the
Jets,
Colts. They play the Colts.
the Bucks.
Or no, fuck. I thought I literally thought he was on the Patriots for a second. I was like, dude, the Patriots play the Colts. I forgot. Dude.
That's hilarious. But yeah, this arguably the Saints are the toughest team for them to finish out the year. They don't play a team with a winning record to finish the season. Saints, Panthers, Jets, Panthers. So they got to play the Panthers twice, which.
But they're division games, though.
Yeah, they are. And who knows if Cam Newton gets his head out of his ass there in Carolina too. He's what I think they said 0-10 or 0-11 in his last
0-11 with his last 11
in Carolina. So yeah, whatever is going on there. But yeah, I mean, he has the Saints defense is going to be the toughest defense for him to play against in these last 4 weeks. If he can keep putting up 3-4 touchdowns, 300 plus yards, no interceptions, and win out the year, unless he slips up. I mean, basically because of Rodgers' first week set him back so far that he's not going to really be able to catch. Between that and his game being out for COVID, that's essentially, you might as well take it as 2 games that he missed this year.
And he's only 900 yards behind him.
That's a lot. In 2 games, that'd be 450 yards each game to be equal to him.
Yeah, but I don't know. He leads the league. He's third. Rodgers is third in distance thrown. Like he's got 10 40 plus yard throwing downfield, which puts him in third. I mean, he's 108.8. See, I think Rodgers is going to win this. The only way that he doesn't win this, I feel like, is if the media slews him somehow and he doesn't win it. But I definitely feel like he wins it. And then as far as the other day, the conversation that we had about Micah Parsons, now putting him in Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
After yesterday, he
just doing something we haven't seen in a long time.
Where I saw he was on pace. If he played only middle linebacker, he'd be on pace for 180 tackles, which would be a Dallas franchise record. If he only edge rushed, he was like on pace for 20 sacks this season, which would be also a Dallas franchise record. If not even, I don't even know if that's ever been done in 20 sacks in a year by anybody.
He's got 12, right?
Yeah, he has 12.
So 75 tackles.
Where they're saying, because he does both, sometimes he drops into coverage, sometimes he rushes, to where if he did one or the other, he'd be the best interior linebacker in football, or he'd be the best edge rusher in football.
Well, I just think he's the greatest defensive player in either of those positions.
Yeah.
Because watching him play middle linebacker, he almost had that pick 20 yards down the field.
Mm-hmm.
Like he does everything. Yeah, he's got 12 sacks, 75 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 27 quarterback hits. And he's also getting shout outs from other people around the league saying that he is defensive hands DPOY and rookie hands down. And no rookie has won both of those awards back since the person who they're comparing him to. And that's a great old LT, not LaDainian Tomlinson, but Lawrence Taylor. It's incredible what we're seeing this kid do. And for him to come out and say that he doesn't really think that the NFL is that hard is just incredible, because he's dominating it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Dallas, like you said, is kind of fucking him around by moving him all over the field. Once put him down at the end or the linebacker and let him choose if he wants to step up to the line and go. let him pick whatever spot. Because, like, if you looked at the third down last night or yesterday in their game, excuse me, when he slid down, Lawrence and what's his name slid to the inside. So that three super monstrous guys all on one side of the ball, all coming after you. Like, you're doomed. And that's basically what happened every single time on third down. Hence, Washington only went 3 for 12 on third down, and you're not going to win a game going 3 for 12 on third down.
No.
This Dallas Cowboys team, like we said on last week, is going to go as far as this defense can take them. But they are looking pretty good right now. Offense, not so much, but fuck, their defense is playing unbelievable.
Yeah. I guess kind of sticking with that, this was going to be my third question, but it kind of fits right into what we're talking about. After seeing Dak Prescott post a 9.9 QBR in yesterday's near collapse and being outscored 20-3 in the second half, do you see this Cowboys team being a first round exit? Do they even have a chance to win a playoff game with Dak Prescott at the helm, playing the way he is right now? Because yes, defense wins you championships. Again, Parsons, that defense is doing really good, but
And them without Pollard for the rest of the year, basically.
like your defense gets you stops, but if your offense gives it right back, then your defense is out there.
I'm going to say Dak Prescott is not going to be the reason why they would win a playoff game if they were to win one, but I don't see them winning more than one if they do win one. Their running game is going to have to do something tremendous. They're going to have over probably 150 yards rushing. Just because some of these throws that we're seeing out of Dak Prescott this year are just like, what are you doing?
Like that pick six yesterday.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, he was in his blind spot, but also it's like, then turn your head, like make sure there's nobody there.
Well,
you gotta know
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have an excuse. And I don't know. I could see them winning one potentially, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I could see 100% them being a first round exit. Obviously, them getting the win over Washington yesterday, they're kind of in the driver's seat. It's probably next week, and between them and the Packers to clinch their division first in the NFL this year. Because yeah, Dallas has a 3-game lead with 4 weeks ago. So if they win next week, then that salts that away. Same thing with Green Bay. Even with the Vikings if the Vikings lose, well, actually no, win or lose. If the Packers win, then that's salted away too. So, but yeah, down the stretch here, I think I was kind of watching Sports Center last night. This is the 20th time, either the 10th or 20th time that Dak Prescott has posted a sub 10 QBR. He lost in every other contest, and yesterday was the first time. So that goes to show that, at least in the past, that team doesn't have enough playmakers around him that if he's having a bad game, other people can step up to carry them to a victory.
Yeah, this is the first time that he's had a sub 21 QBR that the Cowboys have won a game.
Oh, it's 21. Okay. Because it was a 9.9. I didn't know if it was sub 20 or like what the number was. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time that the Cowboys have done that since Dak Prescott's been there playing that poorly because of that defense is the only reason why. Strip sack for a touchdown. Or excuse me.
Yeah, it was a touchdown. It was a touchdown. When Parsons drove him into the ground. And then there was
the play at the end of the game there where Washington had one last chance to go and they got the forced fumble.
When he was going down and it was like,
even though his hand was going forward for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so ticky-tacky on whether he has control of the ball or not. It's like he was going to throw it either way. But yeah. Then my last question, with the AFC North, as we talked about earlier, kind of with the Browns, do you see the Baltimore Ravens potentially being knocked out of that first seed in the North? And if they do, do they find themselves out of the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean they're still in first, so they have that going for them. Again, a lot of it's going to ride on the health status of Lamar Jackson going forward.
Harbaugh said today though that the
He's
plan is
expected
he's supposed to be out there.
he's expected to play versus Green Bay. But again, it's more than just Lamar. They obviously have a lot of injuries. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, but at the same point, they've done so well with that list of injuries that you almost can't use it as an excuse anymore.
Or is that how bad the rest of that division is because they're so banged up and they're still in the league?
Yeah. To where if they don't make it, I could see it's like, oh, but we're hurt. It's like, well, you guys were the 1 seed at one point. Like you can't use it as an excuse when you're playing that good of football. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, at 8-5, pulling up their schedule, the rest of the go here.
Packers, Bengals, Rams, Steelers.
Rams, Steelers. I mean, they could lose every single one of those. Honestly, they lost to the Steelers already, given it was in Pittsburgh, so they at least have that one at home to end the year.
They also, they could win all 4 of them.
Yeah. I mean, if the Ravens play their
what
best
Lamar
ball,
are you going to get? What Lamar are you going to get? If he doesn't turn the ball over, usually more times than not, that team wins the game.
Mm-hmm.
If he turns it over and tries to play hero ball, they lose every time.
Especially like for the Packers in past history. Again, Joe Barry, new defense. So, and he's handled mobile quarterbacks very well. Kyler Murray shut him down. Russell Wilson shut him down. In past years, a mobile quarterback would absolutely just demolish the Packers defense.
Colin Kaepernick, 200+ yards.
Yeah. Wilson in his earlier years against the Dom Capers defense, he'd always trap the Packers defense. Yeah, I mean, this year Joe Barry's handled mobile quarterbacks very well. So, and Lamar Jackson is in that top echelon of these mobile quarterbacks. Again, pending what his ankle status is, maybe he throws the ball more, which for the Packers would be an upside because Lamar is not one of the best throwers of the football when forced to stay in the pocket. But yeah, like you said, like I said, they could easily lose all 4 games. Like you said, they could win all 4 as well.
Just because he has that factor, he has that X factor. Just like the Mahomes, the Brady's, the Rodgers, he has that X factor to where if he has it, nobody's stopping. Like you can't stop him. He's a 2-headed monster when he's on his game.
Yeah, I mean, for these other teams, Bengals, basically Joe Burrow and Chase got to get hot. Rams, they're so up and down this year. Who knows what you're going to get out of them right now? Again,
speaking of which, what do you think about tonight's game? Who do you got winning?
I like the Cardinals. I mean, until they prove. I mean, they're the top team in the NFL for a reason. They on paper don't look the greatest at times, but when Kyler Murray was out, Colt McCoy steps in, and they only lose 1 game. I think one game while he was in there. Currently sitting again, still with the best record in the NFL at 11-2 or 10-2, 10-2. Yeah, I mean, would I like to see the Rams win? Yeah, because then that means the Packers would now be the 1 seed with sole control down the stretch. But I just think the Cardinals are the better team because they get Murray back. Well, they've had Murray back for a week now. The Rams have just been too up and down. I think that I don't know. Like I said, I want the Rams to win. I just think the Cardinals are going to.
What do you think the score is going to be?
I can see it being a shootout, honestly. I'm going to say 35-33.
I think the Rams are going to win. I feel like this little time that they've had to get their shit together now with their bye week that they had this last week, I believe. Getting healthy, Von Miller, I feel like this is going to be the game that he kind of makes a staple in this defense as he's here to be a part of this defense. Aaron Donald, the play that he made the other week where he picked up the guy, literally picked him up in the air, stripped the ball, and slammed the guy down. Like, it was incredible to see what he was doing. Offense, OBJ has touchdowns in consecutive games. Like, I feel like this team is starting to go, and we know this is going to be a very interesting game. It's either going to be very high scoring or it's going to be very low scoring. I feel like it's going to be a defensive battle in this, and I feel like the Rams are going to win 28-25.
Sounds good. Yeah,
Actually, let's go 27-20, 27-24. 27-24. Because I feel like we're going to see a 2-point conversion in this game, and I feel like we're going to see a missed kick maybe.
yeah.
One or
That's
two.
that's why I said 35-33, because I feel like it's going to come down to a couple field goals, or again a needed 2-point conversion that fails or something.
But I feel like this is a revenge game earlier for the fact that the Cardinals had the Rams after they beat the Bucks and had a tough game there. So now that they've had time to prepare, I think Sean McVay outduels Cliff Kingsbury in this battle. And I don't know, like Cardinals are the best like pass defense. Rams are like one of the top passing offenses. Cardinals are like one of the top running offenses, and the Rams are one of the top running defenses. Like, it's just a great battle all across the board. That's why I feel like special teams is going to play a huge part in this game, and it's going to be won by a field goal.
Yeah, it'll be fun. A fun game to watch. Again, a lot of implications to where Rams win it, they stay within a game of the division. They lose, kind of wraps it up. They fall to 3 games. So with both losses to the Cardinals, so they wouldn't even have a head-to-head tiebreaker. So they'd basically, today would wrap up the division then, wouldn't it? Because then there'd be 3 weeks, or no, there'd be 4 weeks to go.
4.
Yeah. But still, if the Rams lose, the Cardinals would have to lose out. Rams would have to win.
If the Rams lose tonight, basically they can kiss the division goodbye, just because the Cardinals play the Lions next weekend, which is basically going to put another game basically stamped on top of that. When the Rams have to go, or I guess they host Seattle, so that I don't know.
But two more Cardinals wins and they have it though.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, as a Packers fan, I want the Cardinals to lose, but it's just hard to bet against them right now. Plus, I mean, like you said, the Rams are coming off a bye week. Sometimes it plays really well into we've had 2 weeks to prepare for this team. We're fresh, we're ready to go, we're healthy, but also perfect instance last night. Packers coming off a bye week, really, really sloppy in the first half. I don't think the Cardinals are a team you can be sloppy against for a quarter, let alone a half, and try to crawl back into a game. If they end up sloppy, they could come out firing on all cylinders and be clicking. But if they come out slow for the first quarter, first half, they go down 2 or 3 scores. That's going to be hard to come back from.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah. My last one for you, right?
Yep.
Okay. Switching over to the AFC side here, kind of talking about some of the top teams. Do you think the Chiefs are the hottest team right now in the AFC? 6 straight wins, destroyed Vegas yesterday, 48-9. Mahomes is starting to look better. That defense is starting to look better. I mean, really between the Chiefs and the Patriots, which one do you see being the hottest team right now?
I actually was going to say, I think the Dolphins are the hottest team. Both of the Chiefs and the Patriots at this point, we know what to expect out of these teams, and we hold these teams to a high standard. I feel like the Dolphins is a team that we expect to be at the bottom of the league every single season. They're on a 5-game heater right now. I feel like they're currently the hottest team in the AFC, and they're really in control of their own destiny with the Bills' loss to the Patriots, and they still have to play again yet. So, Dolphins, you're in control of your destiny, especially since they play the Patriots yet. And I believe, is that the last game of the
Yeah. Week 18 is when they play.
Yeah, Patriots. They got the Colts, Bills, Jags, Dolphins. Jags is the only one you can really chalk and say you got it.
Mm-hmm.
So, who do the Dolphins got? Let's take a look. Jets, Saints, Titans. So they have two
Two
probable
gimmies.
wins against the Saints and the Jets. So, hey. I think it's the Dolphins. Go Fins.
Yeah. I mean, as far as a team that's still kind of on that bubble on the outside looking in, I'd agree with you that the Dolphins are, I mean, the hottest team right now just because they have the longest active streak, don't they?
No, they're technically third. Pats are 7, Chiefs are 6, and the Dolphins are 5.
Oh,
But like I
okay.
said, that expectation factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First year head coach. Who knows how that was all going to go down there with Flores going down. And look what they're doing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hell of a job.
Yeah. I guess as far as meeting expectations, I would say, I mean, the Chiefs look like the hottest team at the moment in the AFC, just with again their streak, one behind the Patriots, but they've won in dominant fashion as of late. Where
Against over the worst two teams in your division.
is that? Oh yeah, the Broncos and the Raiders. Yeah, 48-9 over the Raiders, 22-9 over the Broncos.
Every game that they've played against an actual quarterback has been a shootout. And more
Yeah.
times than not, they've been on the losing side of it.
Yeah, I mean, they beat the Cowboys. I mean,
Lost to the Ravens. They lost to the Chargers. They lost to the Bills. Lost to the Titans. Got smacked in the mouth. And then ever since then, the Titans, they've kind of been slowly rolling along. And yeah, they put up fucking 48 points on the Raiders. What did I say? It's about time that this team is going to hit a tank wall after their coaching change, everything that's happened with the Rugs and all that. It was a matter of time for this team to implode on themselves, and now it's happened. This Broncos team, they could have found new life with this whole DT thing. They could have found new energy to play for something this season. But at the time that happened, they had a Broncos team who had a shit performance by all of their quarterbacks. You'd like, that ain't going to happen all the time. They caught the Cowboys before they hit, like, they put up, dude, they outscored the Raiders this year in their games 89-23. That was the scores of the games. 41-14, 48-9. They fucking smacked them.
mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say, I don't know. Until they beat Thursday night, prime example, they beat the Chargers, then okay, hey, they're good, they're cooking. But
yeah, and I mean
don't know.
because they in their first game against the Chargers, it came down to the end. Chargers won 30-24 in Kansas City. Now Kansas City has to try to go to LA, where Chargers win this game. They're number one in the AFC West because they be tied for record and have both.
They have a 2-0 hybrid. Yep.
Yeah, and then they host the Steelers again. Don't know what you're going to get out of them. If you get the second half Steelers from Thursday night's game last week, then you might have a team. They got to travel to Cincinnati, which who knows, and then to Denver, which depending on what kind of streak they go on to end the year.
Yeah, and then the Chargers. This is their only tough game that they have left, really. They play the Texans, the Broncos, and then they finish the year with the Raiders, who have imploded. So that's 3 easy wins on their schedule, where this game is really going to come down to who takes that division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, for the Chiefs, they have really their easiest game, probably Broncos to finish the year. Otherwise, Steelers, Bengals, Chargers. You could go 1-4, 1-3 to end the season, potentially. I guess the only thing, I guess the Chiefs host Pittsburgh, so That's but also what are the Chiefs at home even this year? I feel like they've lost some games that they shouldn't have at home.
I believe the Titans smacked them at home.
They're 6-2 at home. So yeah. And they've lost to the Bills at home and
Bills and the
Chargers. Yeah. Which are two teams that they could very well see in the postseason again.
And then they beat the Packers without Rodgers by 6.
Yeah, that's
They beat the Cowboys without a lot of their guys by 10. That ain't gonna get it done in the postseason. They only beat the Giants by 3. Like everywhere outside of their division, they've struggled.
Yeah, because in their division, are they perfect right now? No, they're the one loss to the Chargers. Yeah, so they're 3-1. Yeah, in their conference, 4-4 against AFC teams.
And that's why I said their division has been their saving grace this season for basically two teams having it look so good and go so bad so quickly.
Yeah, sounds good then. Just before we jump into the NBA, has really been a lot of college football talk. I made one note just because I feel like it's kind of fun to talk to quick touch on this is from the Pittsburgh Wake Forest ACC championship game. It kind of went viral there for a while of Kenny Pickett's fake slide where he was running down the field, fake slide, and then looped around and got in for a touchdown. NCAA immediately shut that down, that is now going to be a dead ball spot, that if quarterbacks try to do that, it's going to be where the fake slide was attempted, that's going to be a dead ball spot. Just with how much they're protecting the quarterback nowadays and at the college level, professional level, really at any level, that's not fair to a defense to see a guy looking like he's going to go down to slide. You're just ingrained to your head, pull back. You pull back and let the guy run for a touchdown or at least 5-10 more yards.
It's also not fair to the guy who can fucking has the athleticism to pull that move off and continue to go like that. You're also jinsing him too of what he can actually do. Like, I feel like that's a bullshit. That move should totally be legal. And you know what, quarterbacks? You fucking play quarterback. You're gonna get hit. Suck it up, Buttercup. Like, seriously.
They should almost exempt where if a fake slide is attempted, you're not protected anymore. Like,
well, it should, as long as you're not getting hit in the head, it shouldn't matter. You should be able to get hit unless you're obviously laying on the ground. But but even those slow quarterbacks that take 9 years to go from running into their slide, they should be able to get decked from the time that they're not completely down on the ground. That's just like, how are you still technically in bounds when your foot hits inbounds and you jump out of bounds? You're completely out of bounds, but you're in the air. How are you still in bounds? Like I forgot what play that it happened in the game yesterday. Oh, it was the Dallas game where Collins ended up thrown an uppercut and get tossed out of the game when Dak. It's like, if you want to protect the quarterbacks, why don't you say it the second that they're over the fucking they're out. That's how you get people hurt. It's like, it's not people correctly tackling somebody who's going down it's guy jumping and getting shoved out of bounds and fucking running into a cameraman or the towel water boy fucking not paying it. Something getting tripped on cables, all that stuff. It's like, it's such a joke that happened. And shout out Kenny Pickett for being a Heisman finalist. Obviously, he didn't win. Bryce Young won. We all knew that. And yeah, I just feel like you're capping the athleticism of some of these players.
Yeah, I mean,
like, for the guys who get so low on the ground too and fucking keep themselves up when it's like this close from being down, it's like, you're gonna call that down now too?
Yeah,
you're gonna call him down. It's like, once you go down that slope, that's a really shitty slope to start going down. So what now? Is it going to be just the cutback fake move? Like, you're going to slide? What if you're just doing a cutback? Are you down? Did you
Yeah.
intentionally want to slide? Like, the refs are going to have to read the minds of these kids on what they're doing on half their moves.
In a split
Like,
second.
I don't believe if we're going to see this, dude, we're going to see this next year. The guy's going to be running on the sidelines. He's going to do a little cut move, and it's going to get blown down because they thought he was going to slide.
I wouldn't be surprised if that already happens. To where they're like, oh, the runner gave himself up. It's like, no, I was making a cut. Where,
Shit.
I mean, even like there's a lot of times like forward progress where it's like the play's blown dead. It's like the guy's still fucking moving forward. Like I hate when they blow play dead when it stops for like a half a second. If the guy's getting driven backwards, yeah, plays dead. But if it's a stalemate, give it a 2 or 3 count. And if it's still a stalemate, all right, that's because there's 5 guys like this against each other and nobody's gonna move. All right, plays dead. But if boom and whistle, it's like no, like let the play happen. He could have. A lineman could come up from behind. That's an extra 3 yards. What if it's a third? What if it's a third and short? They all of a sudden it's 4th and inches. Where if you let that play go for 2 more seconds, it's a first down. Like
prime example of the Minnesota game, Dalvin Cook. That happened. They were all on a huge pile up, and he just ducked down and literally just spun out of it and continued to run downfield for I think it was like 20-something yards. If they would have blown that play dead, like he still moved, Like, I completely agree with you. If you're stuck at a stalemate and it's like 5 seconds and nobody's literally going anywhere, all right. If it's going backwards, if it's gets to a point and then all of a sudden it starts going backwards, I'd say you maybe let it go for like a second, because more times than not, people finishing out a natural play aren't going to get hurt compared to trying to stop and do all this crazy shit with all the whistles. And so I'd let them try to just finish, let everything happen. But yeah, I completely agree. You still have the chance to go forward. Unless you're deliberately being picked up, almost like driven backward, you should have a chance to go.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I know.
hate how it's just the tip of the football. It's just the tip. The whole fucking football should have to get over the line, the first down marker, all that stuff. It would take out all these little, oh, I think so. I think he got the first. Oh, I think this. Oh, he should have been spotted out here. It would take all that out of it. Did the whole ball get across? You'd easily be able to tell it on a camera.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too. If it's like people throw up a stink, it's like, oh, the ball. It's like the ball's this big. If you can't get it an extra fucking 14 inches, however long an NFL football is, then you don't deserve it. Like if you're gonna throw a stink of, oh, you jumped us out of a first down, the touch of the football, be a better athlete. You can move block for an extra foot, like fall forward for an extra foot. Like
it's like for the defense, I always fucking never understood. It's like you stop people and they bring out the chains, and it's halfway across, and only half the footballs. Why the fuck do you get half? There's no half points.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even like on the first
down,
this much of the ball is sticking past, and it's like first down. It's like technically the ball isn't across.
Exactly.
More of the ball is not across than across.
And that's why you shouldn't have to decide on, did a little tip get across? Did this? Oh, I think the brief little tip hit the little paint. No, the whole ball should have to get across over the whole motherfucking line, not just the front, break just the tip. Whole thing should have to go across. That's why I love the NHL for that reason. Whole puck has to be across the whole motherfucking line, and there has to be deliberate space in between because it's not in. It's still on the line.
Yeah.
Like if any part of that football is on the line, it's on the line. It's not across the line.
Yeah. Well, because technically, if the line's here and the ball, if the ball, like if this is the line and this is the ball, say this is the 35-yard line, the ball's here. That ball's technically at the 34. More of that ball is at the 34-yard line than it is at the 35. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So it's short. Like I'm just like, again, just adding another point to the where if this is the line to gain, this is the football. All right, that little bit of it's cross, but 95% of the ball is still at the 34. Your line to gain is 35. You're short. So like, because again, like you said, it take out all the headaches if the full ball has to cross, because then it's like
And it has to cross the full line. Like if you want 1
Yeah.
yard, the whole ball has to cross that 1 yard dash. Like if it doesn't, you go back to the same spot. Like if a quarter of it gets across, you don't get the whole thing across the line, you don't get that yard.
Mm-hmm.
It'd make everything so much easier on everybody.
Yeah. To make it more cut and dry rather than if you leave that
Oh,
little bit of
the ref. I'm gonna spot it here because I think I saw the ball get.
yeah.
Like when the both refs, you see them coming in across the way, and half the time they're fucking
They're
looking over
staggered.
to try to see where they are, where each other
Yeah.
is, to try to like make it line up. It's just like take that out of the part where the ball ends up. Is it fully across? Okay, all right. Is it not? No, all right. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Problems we'll probably see in the future with the NFL.
Probably.
Well, then jumping over to the NBA here. After the Lakers win their last game and LeBron became the oldest player in the NBA with a triple double with at least 30 points, AD not in the lineup. Do you think this LA Lakers team is turning it around?
Yeah, I mean, finally got to see a healthy LeBron last night. I mean, as a fan of the game of basketball, I mean, anytime you see a legendary player playing at their highest level, I mean, back to the NFL, Tom Brady, seeing him healthy playing at the highest level, it's fun as a spectator of the game. For the NBA, same thing for LeBron. As much as I'm annoyed, get annoyed with the guy and like don't really care for him, like at times. At the age he's at, to be able to do it at the level that he does, it's impressive. And for the Lakers team, um, so long as LeBron has the endurance to keep this up, they're going to need it because, like we've talked about multiple times, AD has the frame, the skill set, the age, like the youth to that he should be one of the top players in the league, putting up the numbers that KD, that Giannis does every night, and he's just kind of again, he's had a handful of injuries, so who knows if he will ever be able to get back to 100% because those injuries are just going to linger for the rest of his career. But it just seems like the lack of effort is there to where, like, on this Lakers team, they need that extra effort. They need him to go out there and try to put up 30, 40 points every single game, even if it like tires you out night after night after night. Like, that's why these guys get paid millions of dollars. Again, it's easier said than done, especially for a guy like me sitting in my a spare bedroom talking about it in Wisconsin. But I don't know. I guess as far as the Lakers' future, like what it's looking like, they need that more out of LeBron than because AD isn't going to be able to do it. At least he hasn't shown that he wants to put forth the effort to do it.
Yeah, over these last 8 games, LeBron's played like an MVP. 39 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 30 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, 33 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, 23 points, 6 assists, 11 rebounds, 30 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 20 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds, 33 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and then last night, 30 points, 10 assists, and 11 rebounds. So 2 triple doubles in his last 3 games. I feel like he's finally got some motivation, especially after the suspension and then the league not letting him come back when he had when the false positive and all this. Like, I feel like he's on a mission. He's got something to prove. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers make a crazy move sometime during the season, whether it's letting one of the vets go and bringing somebody in, but I could see some sort of move happening at some point during the year.
Mm-hmm. And the only other guy that's really impressed me is Carmelo off the bench. He comes in super productive, brings a lot of energy. Um, he's the only other guy that really has impressed me on that Lakers team. Again, Westbrook, turnover machine. AD not playing up to the potential that he should, kind of sandbagging a little bit. There's five, you got 5 guys on the court. 2 of them are really only impressing me, and one of them is coming off the bench. So really only LeBron is the only guy out of
At
the
36 years old.
yeah. Um Yeah, the Lakers team has a lot to figure out before playoff time. Again, they're in right now. They're the 6th seed, so they're in a spot to where if they can get rolling, they can only go up and try to get some space out of that play-in tournament. But again, with LeBron's age, how healthy is he? Can he keep this up night after night after night? If he can't, then the Lakers are kind of screwed.
If
Because
he can, does that impact his legacy anymore or not? Given at this age, this amount of minutes played, this banged up, that he's still carrying a team.
I mean,
we never saw Jordan do that.
Yeah, well, his legacy is his legacy already. And one thing, like looking at it too, is he's starting to move into the number one spot in a lot of these categories: points, assists, steals, all that. But at the same time, look at how many more minutes he had to play to get there. And
Yeah, but at the same time,
respect,
look at the teams that he's had compared to playing with the same players for 7 years in a row or 6 years in a row and winning 6 titles.
yeah,
Like if he could have played with Kyrie Irving, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, all those guys in their prime, if all they were going through their prime at the same time, they would have done the same thing.
yeah. And kind of like Tom Brady too. Like he passed Drew Brees yesterday for most completions, but he had to do how many more games than Brees to get it to where it's like, yeah, it's impressive. Tom Brady is one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But put some respect on these other quarterbacks' names because yes, Tom Brady now is number one, but look at the games played. How many more games did he have to play to get there?
Yeah, he didn't air it out like Breeze did, and
Yeah.
everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But now later in his career, ever since he left New England, he's showing that he can throw the ball.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the two-sided coin. It's like, well, how many passing yards would he have had if Bill would have let him air it out like BA does his whole career?
Mhm.
Like you could always put that question on it too. That's why I asked, like, or made the statement, like LeBron didn't have the super team, the number one rebounder, the number one fucking sidekick in the league for 6 straight years to win those titles.
Yeah.
It's like he had to go find maybe 1 or 2 guys to help out. He had the same fucking team for 6 years. Like the chemistry, all that stuff. As much as people don't think that it plays into a team succeeding and really succeeding, it really does a lot more than these people think.
The one thing that, like, in favor of like Jordan in that like greatest of all time talk is back in the 90s, a lot more physical game to where they let stuff go. Nowadays, again, like crybaby LeBron, like all the things of him like whining and stuff. Would he still be as successful as he is back in the 90s, where back then
he's got
they
the
didn't
frame,
call
6'8", 250.
well, yeah, the frame, like take his frame, take the how the game was played back then to where now little bumps, little shoulders, you're going to the line back then.
And that's the argument there'll always be because the game changed.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Sounds good. My first NBA question for you here. There are 11 teams in the NBA that have never won a championship. The Pacers, Hornets, Nets, Grizzlies, Jazz, Suns, Pelicans, Clippers, Nuggets, Magic, T-Wolves. Which team do you see getting their first championship before the others?
Nets or the Suns. That's it. And especially with the news about Kyrie potentially returning to the team, I feel like that's all boost, that he's well rested and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of those 2 teams. If not this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was honestly surprised when I was looking at this list. Like some of these make sense, like the Magic, the T-Wolves, the Pelicans, somewhat newer teams, and just haven't had really good players for a long time.
The Suns would have one without Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, it was crazy to see the Nets and Suns on this list of 2 franchises that. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense for the Nets. The Nets that haven't been that good until recent, and they had a stint years ago. But yeah, I agree with you. Nets, Suns, another team I'd throw in that Clippers, depending on getting Kawhi back, how much of an impact he's gonna have. Him and Paul George. Anytime you have two all-star, arguably top 3, top 5 in their respective position in the league at this given time on one team together, it's hard to not have them in the conversation as well. But I think the Suns have, for me, it'd be Suns, Nets, then Clippers as far as who I think have the best chances, just because the Suns only have the Warriors to go through in the West. The Nets have the Bucks, the 76ers, the Bulls. They have a lot of teams to go through in the East.
Yeah, it's still early yet, but yeah, I'd agree with you with that order right now. But it's tremendous what the Nets are doing without James Harden.
Yeah.
And then going to my next point here, without Anthony Davis in the lineup, without James Harden in the lineup, and also you could add Kyrie Irving to that list, which one has the biggest impact on being out on their team? Or is there any other player in the league, like when they're out, they have huge, like they're the biggest impact being out on their team? Could be anybody, really.
I mean, I would say that as far as an impact to their team, I'd say AD has more of an impact than James Harden, just because of what Durant does night in and night out to get that team wins. And they have a lot of vets, a lot of depth on that team that if a guy's out or not playing well, they step up. Where I mean, with last night really being the only exception, AD's out, LeBron does enough to get the win. But who do they even play? They didn't play a very good team, did they?
No, they played a shit team, I believe.
I think it was the Magic, wasn't it?
Yep. Skip Bayless was calling the Orlando tragic.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, they win without AD, but also again, take it with a grain of salt. It's the Orlando Magic, to where without James Harden, without Kyrie, KD is having himself another MVP-esque season, to where he does it make it easier on him? Is he able to get a little bit of pressure on him with those guys on the floor? Of course, but they're winning games without them. So the only other person I'd throw in that conversation too is Giannis. When the Bucks don't have Giannis, they're not the same team. Even like their big three, I think they're 16 or not 16. How many games? Yeah, they're 18-10. I think they're 16-1 this year when Giannis, Holiday, and Middleton
all play.
Play. So that goes to show how much they lean on those three guys, to where if one piece is missing, obviously Drew was out to start the year. They won games. Middleton was out with a sickness I think he was out with a regular sickness, and then he was out with COVID, like back to back. They still were able to win games. When Giannis is out, that team is not the same. So I'd put Giannis in that same category. Giannis and KD. If both of those teams are missing those two players, it's tough, especially
with James Harden and Kyrie in the lineup.
Well, they're not though. So current stance of each team, if KD wasn't in there, the Nets would not be winning games. Current stance of the Bucks, if Giannis wasn't in there, they wouldn't be winning as many games. So I see those two as the most value as far to their team. Hence why they're kind of the two leaders, along with Curry in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Which, again, almost professionals at this point. We're tangenting into our own questions. With Curry's current scoring slump and KD having a 51-point game last night, is Curry still the MVP frontrunner, or should KD now be the frontrunner?
After one game that doesn't put you in the frontrunner stance, I don't think that he should be the frontrunner. He's close second. If Curry's cold streak continues for another week or so, another handful of games, and KD continues to put up 35, 40, 50 points again, then yeah, I'd say he slipped. But right now, no, you can't take 2-3 bad shooting nights in a 150-point game and replace them like that. To me, that doesn't get it done.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, he did this whole thing without Clay. Like,
I feel like his scoring
Durant's
slump
had
too.
Harden at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. And oddly enough, I feel like Curry's scoring slump has had a lot to do with he's forcing 3 shots because he wants to break that record. Which tonight they play the Pacers in Indiana. So 7 away from getting the record, very doable. But also he's only got, what was he at, 16 originally? So he's got 9 over 2 games. So I don't know.
No one wants to be the team that he breaks it on.
No, and I almost wonder because I know they went out. They started a road streak. Yeah, no.
I thought it was 5.
Yeah, they're in the second game of their road streak. They still have to at Indiana, at the Knicks, at the Celtics, at the Raptors, and then back home against the Kings. There's no way unless he gets hurt, unless he comes up short and gets hurt tonight, or they wouldn't rest him because you're the top one of the top teams in the NBA. So yeah, it's either going to be tonight or at the Garden tomorrow. That'd be a cool place to break a record too.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving over to the ice then. What's your first question over there?
With the Vancouver Canucks coaching change, with Bruce Boudreau taking over behind the bench, 4 straight wins, and their last win was against one of the top teams in the NHL in Carolina. Do you see their streak continuing?
I mean, the Canucks are kind of one of those teams that have been overlooked a lot lately. At least for the start of the year. I'm pulling up the standings quick. After they were behind Seattle for the longest time, and then Seattle kind of went on a shit streak. Like you said,
they had their COVID outbreak, so they had to miss like 2 weeks or whatever. Because Calgary currently has got 3 games postponed, I believe, due to COVID purposes.
Oh yeah, they were supposed to play Chicago tonight, and that got postponed. That's right. Pulling up the Canucks schedule. I mean,
they play the Jackets, Sharks, Leafs, Yotes, Sharks, Ducks, Kraken, Ducks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long the streak itself is going to continue. Like, I could see it.
They've beaten some good teams.
Yeah.
Shut out the Kings, over the Bruins in a shootout, beat the Jets in a shootout, and then beat the Hurricanes 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, Jackets, Sharks, Leafs. I could see the Leafs. I can honestly see them winning 2 more. I could see the Leafs the Leafs or the Ducks, which the Ducks wouldn't be till the 23rd, so 10 days from now, being the 2 teams to end that streak for them. So they're going to have a good stretch of hockey here.
Do you think they win at least 2 more?
Yeah, I'm going to say the streak ends at 6, losing to Toronto on Saturday.
I think they're gonna ride this homestand with their 1 game on the road against the Sharks. I think they finish I don't think they lose until they play the Ducks on the road the 29th. I think that they take this heater a little bit of a ways here.
Yeah, I mean, they have a perfect chance to. Again, some of the teams that they're playing, really the only toughest teams being the Ducks, who they play twice, Leafs. That's really about it. They got what, 3, 6, 9 games left, and only 2 of them are against teams who are playing considerably better than them right now.
Holy shit! I didn't realize the Kraken fell that far.
Yeah, they're not doing good. They're sucking ass right now.
Well, a question that I don't have on the list. Do you think that they hit a losing streak more than 10 than the Flyers had?
Oh, shoot. No. Because they I don't know. They don't have an easy stretch, but they have a couple games sprinkled in that are like, okay, they have a chance. Like they play They play San Jose, then Anaheim,
Mhm.
and then Edmonton, who they've beat this year. And then Toronto, they host Toronto, and then they host Arizona. So they could right now they're on a 3 losing streak. They could potentially go on a
All at home.
7. No, they go at San Jose, at the Ducks.
No, I was saying their 3-game losing streak has all been at home.
Oh yeah. Which Saturday's game, I mean,
Maybe they just need to dog the shit on their logo. It'll stop the streak.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. I could see them ending up going on like a 7-game shitter, and then hopefully against Arizona, if they ended up losing to Arizona too, fuck. I don't know. Because then after that, freaking Calgary, Canucks who are hot, Flyers, Flames again. Like they only really have 2 games until the end of the year that are like, all right, you can win those. Fuck. It's a tough time to be a Kraken fan right now, but
yeah, I'd say so.
But also they last month they beat Washington, Florida, Tampa all on the road. So like, or no, they didn't beat Florida. They beat Tampa. They beat the Capitals, Carolina, Panthers. They lost to the Lightning. Beat the Sabres on the road, which not really that impressive. Beat the Oilers. Like they beat good teams, not just over 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. I mean, they could end their shit streak tonight, and they could end on a friggin' 9-game heater to end the like.
You never know.
You never know. There's such a wild card, which is like fun to watch, but at the same time, it's stressful to watch because they are a wild card. It's the first time all these guys are playing together. You don't really know. Yeah. Speaking of a team kind of on a shit streak here, Edmonton, now losers of 5 straight and are 1 loss away from being leapfrogged by both Vegas and San Jose. Will they turn the ship around, or will we see them slide to 5th in the Pacific by the end of the week?
I definitely could see them losing a couple more. I know that they're waiting to get a couple guys back from injury right now, and they do play the Hot Leafs tonight. So I could see them taking 1 more L. I could also see them winning 2 more games this week. So where would that have them? 4 points. They keep 4, and they're making up some games. No, I don't see him being leaped by any one of those squads. The only one that I could, though, is the Kings, because they're also behind in games, behind the 30 spot. So I can see them. But no, I don't see them getting past any further.
Yeah, I mean, the only team I see passing them right now would be Vegas, because Vegas is tied with them at 32.
With
points.
1 more game in hand. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, because I could see Edmonton, like you said, they host Toronto tonight or tomorrow night.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see them losing that, and then whoever Vegas plays the next game, which is at Boston Tuesday night as well. Well, Vegas is going on a road trip at Boston, at the Devils, at the Rangers, at the Islanders, which are the Islanders is really the only one that's the easier team out of that bunch, because the Rangers are playing really good hockey. Devils as well. Kind of hit a little bit of a skid, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, with Draisaitl and McDavid on your team, like you'd think that they'll turn it around and they could go on a 10-game heater the opposite direction. But if there's a team that's going to pass them, I think it'd be Vegas right now.
Yeah. They easily could. Then with my next question, sticking with the Pacific Division, the Anaheim Ducks currently sit atop the division with 37 points. Do you see them making the playoffs? Since before the season, they were kind of one of the teams that was written in almost like it wasn't their year this year?
I mean, it's a tough. Calgary is playing really good. Again, Edmonton waiting for them to turn things around. Vegas waiting for them to get back to full strength. They have a tall task ahead of them in that division. Yes, they are in the lead with 37 points, but they also have the most games played in that division right now. But again, like, yeah, they have more games played, but also they're playing really good hockey to back it up. So, dang, I don't know, because like all the teams underneath them are like good enough teams that they could easily get past. I say they still make the playoffs though. I don't know if they end up in the top three spot to like guarantee themselves, but if they continue their good stretch of hockey like they've been playing, they could at least get a wild card spot at that fourth spot in the Pacific. So, and I don't really see Sharks, Kings, Canucks, obviously not the Kraken, making a push to take that fourth spot away from them. So yeah, I think the top four teams: Anaheim, Calgary, Edmonton, Vegas. I think all four of those teams stay in the top four of the Pacific. It's just obviously down the stretch they're going to shuffle around.
Yeah, I mean, and the Flames, what a terrible time to hit COVID and getting games postponed when you're already on a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah.
We just could put them right to the bottom.
Yeah.
That's what's so interesting about the NHL is you go week to week. You literally go week by week, and because one week, if you have a shit week, that could literally have costed you your season, depending on how everybody else did, which is crazy because it's kind of like these teams that have put themselves so far behind. I wouldn't say the Kraken are really out of it yet at this point, but they have a couple more shitty weeks, a couple more little 3, 4, 5. You lose more than.
Especially didn't help for them either. Like, yeah, they beat good teams like Washington, Carolina, Florida, but those are all in the East. Those don't really like a win is a win, but wins over your division or your conference are way more important.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say, like, you don't want to go on like a 10-game shit streak. My team just did that, and 11 technically. No, it was 10. But I don't know. You can't have more than one of those all in a season. You can't have a bunch of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. You can't have a bunch of those. You can have one big turmoil, big fumble fuck, and you got to correct it. And if it continues, you're done.
Yeah.
You're looking forward to the off season where you get to play golf.
Especially like you said, for your Flyers in the Metro, like so many good teams in that division. Really, the only team that Islanders is the only team that's isn't really set up to be a potential playoff team. But yeah, I mean, I guess a good thing going for the Flyers right now to kind of make up some ground. Carolina, Rangers, and Devils all are on losing streaks right now, and Flyers are on a 2. So if they can
play the Devils their next game too, so they
can
leapfrog them.
Yeah, they would. They're only a point back from them right now.
Yeah, it's getting interesting. It's starting to, it's just like the NFL. If these top teams continue to keep winning and winning and winning, it really shrinks the season for the teams that are fighting for those last couple spots. It makes every game a playoff game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't go through that for a full season of having to play that many stressful games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, kind of sticking with streaks here. Colorado is winners of 4 straight and 7 of their last 10. With 3 games in pocket on the 3 teams ahead of them, could we see a new leader in the Central before the new year? Only 5 points back from Minnesota with 3 games less played.
Yeah, I know. So if they won all three, they'd be 1 point ahead of the Wild.
Yeah.
I don't see them taking over the Central Division. However, I could see them being second, being right behind the Wild there. I think it was McKinnon that just went down, or Landeskog. I'm looking.
But also, I mean, taking into consideration too, Colorado is on a 4-game heater, but also so are the Predators. They're on a 5-game heater, 7 of the last 10. Um,
And the Predators started off the year with a 10-game win streak.
yeah,
Or the Panthers. You said the Panthers, right?
Nashville
Oh,
Predators.
Nashville. Yeah, they've put themselves right back, and that's what I mean with the game of hockey, with it being worth 2 points a game. You put together a nice little stretch of 5 here, 3 here, 4 here, whatever here, where you're really only losing 1 game, not really more than 2. You're going to have yourself in a good position to find yourself in the playoffs at the end of the season. And it's these teams, it's all about streaks. It's all about the streaks and how you get in and how you miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think Colorado moves into the second spot. Minnesota's playing too good a hockey right now, despite, I mean, they were on an 8-game win streak. They've lost their last 2, so eight wins in their last 10 games. But again, Nashville, if they continue their hot streak, then Colorado could stay put. Who knows? But the only thing that they really have going for them is, again, those 3 games in pocket to where they can control their destiny for the stretch of when they make up these games.
Your turn.
No, it's yours.
We started that with the Ducks conversation.
No, I asked you about Colorado. That was my question.
Oh shit. Yeah, you're good. You're good. There's been reports of Carey Price being on the ice, finally in full pads, taking some practices here and there, being at optional skates. News has it that he's reporting to join the team somewhere around New Year's time, whether it's before or after the new year. Nobody really knows, but do you think he can make an impact on the Montreal Canadiens season, at least giving them some hope of a life?
No, not a shot. In the Atlantic, again, Florida, Toronto, Tampa have a 8-point lead over the rest of the field right now. Tampa at 38, and then Toronto and Florida at 40, and then behind that,
I was gonna say, and the only team that they're tied with in games played is Toronto, and Toronto's 25 points ahead of them with the same amount of games played.
yeah,
Otherwise, everybody else is playing catch up, like you were saying.
yeah. But I think, yeah, I mean, Boston's gonna have to go on a good streak here. They do have 3 games in pocket. Behind Toronto,
Enough.
but it's still not
enough.
They still end up 4 points short, even if they win all of those. Yeah, I don't think, like we were just talking about, where you go on too many shit streaks. Montreal been on a 6-game losing streak. I think they're on a 5 or 6 or 7 before the last time they won a game. Like, they're just way too far behind.
Yeah, I agree. No chance for them. I mean, it'd be good to see Carey Price getting back because he is an excellent goaltender for his career and all that type of stuff. But also at the same time, why would you try to get back for a team that's fucking out of the playoffs basically at this point, this early?
Yeah, not even halfway point, and
it's like you're basically coming back to do what? You're not really going to do anything. You're not going to really have a huge impact on your team. And one thing the Boston Bruins also have is that Tuukka Rask potentially maybe rejoining the squad as well. I know there's been some rumors going around that they might be bringing him back to be their number 1 goaltender. So that could be a huge boost for them since he's kind of been their guy through this last, I don't know, 10, 12 years of the Bruins being right on the doorstep, potentially being in the Cup Finals every year. And now that we've seen these 2 Tampa Bay teams take over, basically, like you said, And like I reiterated when we were talking about your last question too, with some of these hot teams, it's like if these hot teams keep winning and these mediocre teams keep losing, that gap is just getting so far apart. And there's really only a couple spots where it's going to be playoff hockey the whole year. And when that happens, nothing good ever happens out of it. You start to see a lot of injuries, a lot of stuff like that. So Montreal, better start working on your pick for Shane Wright.
Yeah. And the other thing too with Montreal, yeah, they have the most. I hope they have the most goals given up in
102.
102. They do have the most goals given up, but also they are last in the Atlantic with 62 goals for. So Carey Price isn't going to fix your your goals scored. So they have more problems than him to deal with. Where again, one, they're too far behind to make it different to come back, and two, he comes back. Yeah, he's stopping less. He's stopping more pucks, but you need to score pucks on the other end. So yeah, it's interesting where we might again. I don't know if we talked about like a week or two ago where the a team that was in the Stanley Cup final was the first team to be eliminated from playoff contention the prior year. I don't know if that's ever happened before.
I don't know.
And my last question for you here, kind of circling back to your Flyers. Again, they snapped a 2-game skid or their skid with 2 back-to-back games this weekend. Carter Hart had the win in the net on Friday. Jones had the win on Saturday. Should Philly stay heavy on Hart or work Jones more into the rotation until Hart gets his groove back? Because I want to say Hart is 6.
He's played 17 games and
He's 6,
Jones
8,
has
and
played
1.
10. Yeah, Jones has played 10.
Yeah, he's 6, 8, and 1, and he's 4 and 4. Yeah.
They both have over 90% save percentage. Carter Hart a little bit better with the goals. With being only 23 years old and as young as he was, the reason that we drafted him as high as he was drafted he was supposed to be the savior of all goaltenders to help this team, because that's what we fucking needed for so long as a goaltender.
Yeah.
I say we ride the kid. Like Martin Jones, granted, he's a solid backup tendy, but Carter Hart, let him go. If he has any signs of struggle, get Jones in the net. But other than that, we should be riding Carter Hart.
Yeah, I agree with you. I forget when I was kind of digging into these two guys and kind of comparing apples to apples with Carter Hart only being 23 years old. If you can build this guy's confidence at a young age, he could become a long time 10, 15 year like solid stand on his head guy in the net for Philly, which again, when it comes playoff time, that's what you need is a top 3 goalie in the league to sit in the net for you to give you a chance to go win a cup. So yeah, I mean, when like you said, Jones is a solid backup when he comes in. He helped them again keep their win streak going, got their second win this weekend off their shit streak. But yeah, it makes sense to stick with Hart, despite having a worse record right now at this given time.
Yeah, it'll come around. And then I did want to give a quick shout out to Connor Bedard real quick before we move to our other segment. He becomes the 7th player in the history to make Team Canada's World Junior Team as a 16-year-old, joining McDavid, Jacob Bouwmeester, Sidney Crosby, Jason Spezza, Eric Lindros, and the great one, Wayne Gretzky. So shout out to Connor Bedard being a 16-year-old playing with these 20 and 21-year-old kids. Like,
that's unreal.
Yeah, like there's 3 kids in Shane Wright, Connor Bedard. Like Shane Wright's going to be going number 1 this year. Connor Bedard's going to be going in 2 years. Not this year, not the next year, but the following. And then there's some other kid that's in between in Canada. That's going to be next year's number 1 pick, or 2 years from now. Excuse me. Yeah, I've already seen a whole bunch of Montreal Canadiens people like writing Wright on the back of their jersey and his number already walking around town. It's like, we're getting him. We're going to get him.
In this past year, Owen Power, is he Canadian or American?
He's Canadian. Oh, that's the kid. That's the kid that was going to make it 3 in a row.
Who?
Owen Power, Shane Wright, and then Connor Bedard. Those are the 3 that are going to go 1-1-1. All at 18 years old. All from Canada. all nasty and compared to McDavid and Gretzky.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how good these kids are getting. They're all being compared to McDavid, Crosby. It's just like, holy shit, this league's going to be full of Sidney Crosbys and Connor McDavids. Like, how amazing is that going to be to watch?
Or instead of watching it at one time slate, McDavid's on tonight, it's like, fuck. It's like, all right, he's on tonight, he's on tomorrow, he's on the next day, multiple times a night. Like,
every game would be really great to watch.
Yeah.
And that's only where the talent is going with hockey. It's as much as the game's growing in North America, which is awesome. There's so many kids that are becoming so good. And without the age restriction on having to play a year of college before you go to the NHL, I love it. You just got to be 18 years old, at least have one of your juniors played. And hey, that's a path for a lot of these kids who are super sick at hockey. And that's why you see a lot of these teams, their average age is like 21, 22, 23. I think the oldest average team in the NHL is like 28 years old. And it's just like, shit.
Capitals.
I don't even think that they are.
It's either Capitals or who's it? Boston? Aren't they old?
Islanders.
Islanders.
28.9 years old. Capitals is 27.9. Bruins 27.8. Entering last season when Chara was on the squad, they were the oldest team.
Oh, Capitals, yeah. That makes sense. He went back to Islanders, right? So that makes sense. He jumps shit. He jumps back to
jump ship, and their whole team becomes the oldest league in the roster. Yeah,
that's hilarious. And I feel like too with
he's been like the youngest kid in the league is 18 years old. So 18 minus what is he? 43.
Yeah, 43, 44, something like that.
So my brother, your age, 90. So you were born in 96, right?
Yeah.
So since the year you were born, he's been playing in the NHL.
That's unreal.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts, dude. He's 44. 44, March 18th. So you're about to be 45 this year, dude. Still logging minutes in the NHL. Like, that's... And he just won a fight the other night. Just fucking pumped the guy. Yeah, love Big Z.
I feel like, too, talking again about how young the NHL is turning out to be, I feel like that sets up a perfect story for a lot of records to be broken, too. Or if these guys can have, I mean, hell, you come into the league at 18, you play 20 years till you're 38. If you're getting to Chara range, 25 years, and you play at a high level. If you play at a high level of hockey for 25 years, you're breaking records.
Oh, yeah. When the average age in the NHL is 26.2. So almost every kid in the NHL has watched Zdeno Chara in the NHL their whole entire lives. It gets crazy.
Yeah.
Trying to find out who has the youngest team. My guess would be like Vancouver.
What about like?
I know the Blackhawks are really young.
Buffalo is Buffalo. Pretty young too.
They're pretty young. Hawks, the youngest, 25.6. Nope, just kidding. That was last season. They had a lot of old guys on their team last year. Why doesn't it? Oh, here we go.
Well, but they have Fleury now, so that would up their age.
Team comparison, sort. All right, youngest. Keep a track of this for me. Columbus is in 20. Columbus is 25 years old. They're the youngest team in the NHL. Columbus Blue Jackets, 25. Your team, Seattle, isn't even on the list here. So that's cool. Dude, such a joke. Why does it pull up? It literally pulled up the 2009, 2010 season.
That makes
Like
sense.
when I pulled it up for the website. That's hilarious. This fucking website's broken, dude. Okay, here we go. New Jersey's at 24. Yeah, they're the youngest. New Jersey Devils, 24 years old. Then the Kings are 26. Red Wings are 26. Oh, Blue Jackets are 25 still. Buffalo's 26. Ducks are 26. Yeah, I think it said the league average was like 26.2 years old. Like this for everyone. So yeah, that's pretty crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Well, then going to my last question to you for today here, going to the NFL, who do you think has been the most improved team since the beginning of the season, week 1?
Got to be the Dolphins. I mean, they got a win over the Patriots week 1, which was huge for them. And then who do they lose to?
They lost 6 straight.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Got to be the Dolphins, especially with teams that they've beat, like the Panthers, who were relevant not too long ago, the Ravens, who again are like still the top team in the AFC North. Yeah, it's got to be the Dolphins. Yeah, they played some easier teams like the Texans, the Jets, the Giants, but it's the NFL. It's hard to put together a long streak like that without having any hiccups. So yeah, I would definitely say the Dolphins, and they're prepped to keep the streak going, hosting the Jets again this weekend. So
yeah, I was going to say the Dolphins or the Colts for the holes that they started in to be in the positions that they're at right now.
oh yeah,
Unbelievable for both of those teams.
I remember pre-Hard Knocks, you were talking shit like, why do they have to pick such a shitty team to do Hard Knocks for?
Like if they continue to lose,
yeah, and then they turn things around where it's like, oh, now it's kind of fun to watch it because they're on the bubble team to where.
And with this weekend, with the teams who won and the teams that lost, them being on their bye, they moved into the playoffs. They're in the 6th seed. They're above the Buffalo Bills on a bye. So they're in control of their destiny at this point, just like all these other teams are. It's going to be an amazing year, and I agree with you.
Yeah, and sticking with the kind of the NFL with my last question for you here. If you could start an NFL franchise with Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, who would you choose?
Probably Justin Herbert. They both have rocket arms. Herbert's just way more athletic. He's a bigger guy, and he also seems like one of those guys that I'd get along with really great. He just seems like he's to himself a lot of the times, kind of like in his own little world doing whatever, and then all of a sudden makes a crazy play happen, and he's the most excited little kid running down the field that I've seen. It's amazing to see his growth too, especially with how early. Obviously, Joe Burrow has his connection with Jamar Chase, who he played with for 4 years. Like, I shouldn't say for 4 years, but they have the connection. I don't know. There's something about Justin Herbert that I just absolutely love. I love his competitive. Like, don't get me wrong, Joe Burrow's competitive too, but just with like the injuries and all that and the mobility, the athleticism, Justin Herbert's my guy.
Yeah, I agree with you. But big part of it being what you just said, injuries. in their current stance, like Justin Herbert this very second, Joe Burrow this very second, you got to go with Justin Herbert. A little bit more mobile, better weapons to throw to, I think, as a whole. I mean, Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, Justin Herbert has Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And he has a better running back to throw to, Austin Eckler versus Joe Mixon, who, again, doesn't get a lot of touches because of the Bengals are pass-heavy offense.
Well, and the turnovers. The last time he had the ball, he cost their team a win when he fumbled it.
That's right. Yeah, if I was starting an NFL franchise today, I'd do Justin Herbert as well.
Sounds good. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in on a great Monday. Obviously, a huge football game tonight. He's got the Cards. You got the Cards picked. I got the Rams. It's going to be an interesting game. Hopefully, it's a barn burner like we're predicting. And we will see all of you guys on Hump Day on Wednesday. Take care, everyone.